At the Capitol with Senator Charlie Laster. Senator Laster, as always, thanks for stopping by mylegislator.tv.
Yeah, glad to be here again.
It's always nice to be able to hear from the leader of the minority Democrats, I guess, in the Senate each week. Senator, you have some issues really with education and some things that are going on there. Let's talk about that.
The big bill that came through this week was Senate Bill 834, which, depending on your viewpoint, is a deregulation bill to allow local school boards to pick and choose which quality standards they want to follow. And of course, people on our side of the aisle think that, in fact, it is just allowing or gutting, if you will, all the improvements that have been made over the years in education and the minimum quality standards that are in law. This bill would allow local school boards to disregard a lot of those and pick and choose.
Well, talk a little bit about what the issues are that are trying to be addressed, I guess, in the bills, and then the specifics as to what you don't like about the things that are being taken out.
There are many minimum quality standards that the legislature has put in place over the years for education to require all the school districts to do certain things to maintain quality standards so that all of our kids across the state will get a good education. There are some people that want to call those things mandates and unfunded mandates. And so they want to strike at those and allow local school boards to disregard those things, such as requirements of librarians and counselors, even down to some fairly basic yet important things like requiring schools to have some observance of Veterans Day. Those are the types of things, and there's a long list. We don't have time to cover them all, but there's a long list of things that schools have to comply with. And this bill, I'm afraid, would cut many of those quality standards out, and we would have a patchwork, a very inconsistent patchwork of standards across the state, to where a student in Oklahoma City in one school might be getting a vastly different quality education of someone in McAllister, or even within Pottawatomie County that I represent, the standards for someone in Maud or in Macomb might be different than they are at North Rock Creek or Shawnee High School.
And so there are actually different things that go on throughout the school systems, of course, that are mandated, or sorry about that, but that are there because legislation has been passed. And the impact that I see for the kids is possibly if you move from one school to another school, you have the differences and maybe unfair advantages throughout the system.
Well, that's true. That's one of the problems that was pointed out in yesterday's debate. Another one is that right now, if you really get down to it and look at it, the school boards of the various school districts, probably the most important thing that they do is to hire a good superintendent and to kind of look over the superintendent's shoulder and make sure that they're doing a good job. The superintendent is the chief administrator. If Senate Bill 834 becomes law, then it's going to put a huge onus on the school boards themselves, because right now a superintendent has to make sure that all the quality standards required under Oklahoma law and federal law are met. If 834 were law, the board would get to decide which ones they want to follow and which ones they don't. And quite frankly, they're going to rely on the superintendent to make that recommendation. And the superintendent is going to make his or her job easier by refusing to follow some of these quality standards that cost money. And when we're looking at budgets for schools and everything else in state agencies going down, 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 then the superintendents are going to have the incentive, if this bill were law, to take the easy way out. And that's bad for the kids. That's what we're concerned about.
So in the correspondence that you've heard from across the state, is the education system for, against, who What are the opinions that you've been hearing out there from constituents?
The education community, as it concerns the teachers, very much against this. They see the serious downside of this. There are some superintendents because they recognize that this will make their job easier. There are some superintendents that like this bill. But most of them, quite frankly, have been pretty quiet about it because I think that they have a lot of trepidation about what this bill would do. And I know that the governor is going to give this bill a very close look before he is willing to sign it.
Well, right there in his household, Shawnee's own Kim was a teacher for a long time. I'm sure that there are opinions up there.
There are, and Governor Henry ran as someone who wanted to be the education governor, and he has been the education governor. And so I know that this bill will get a lot of close looks before it is signed. Well,
and it's so interesting here because legislation really, you do have to sometimes be cautious as a leader such as you are in being able to weigh and see all the different sides of tough issues like education for our kids.
Well, that is right. And sometimes there are easy votes and sometimes there are some really tough ones. And that bill represents a pretty tough situation that would be a drastic change in the quality standards for education in Oklahoma.
Well, and as two fathers with kids being educated in public schools, this affects a lot of us. What do you think? You need to let Senator Laster, Representative Steele, even the governor know of what your thoughts are on the education issues surrounding all of us. Senator Laster, thank you very much for spending your time with us.
Good to be here again.